both Christianity and Islam, there's a circumstance where you have a lot of disciples that you never hear of, a lot of priests that you never hear of, a lot of clerics that you never hear of, a lot of religious peoples that you never hear of, a lot of saints that you never hear of. And the reason that you never hear of them is because of the way that, um, for lack of a better way to put it, the way the Illuminati has engineered the things that you do hear about. And the way that they've engineered the things that you do hear about is through the media. And the way they do that is by attaching to things that keep you scared so that you won't make any decisions other than what you've been instructed to make by your government. You know, if I keep you terrified of the terrorists, then you're constantly scared and you're asking the government, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Because they got you trapped. They got you scared. You don't know what to do. And so you ask them, what should I do? They say, we get some duct tape. And you watch out for Muslims. But what's a Muslim? You know, in the way that they teach you what a Muslim is by, you know, showing you all these suicide bombings. That's what a Muslim is. And on the same token, you know, they show you Catholic priests doing molestation charges. They show you Mormons taking over strange pieces of land. They show you Christians doing these extreme things. And they say, hey, look at the crazy Christians and look at the crazy Muslims. And they use the media to keep everybody scared so they don't, what do I do? Confused, you know what I mean? You don't want to be identified as one of these crazies. There's a bunch of disciples that y'all never heard of that weren't mass murderers, that weren't child molesters, that weren't any of those things, man. And I just want to tell you, man, that just like there's probably a lot of Christians in your life that you didn't know they were Christians because they never mentioned it to you, there's probably a lot of Muslims in your life, you know what I'm saying, that maybe they were Muslims and they just never mentioned it to you. And I'm saying this because I keep seeing all these crazy memes coming across Facebook about beheadings and are these, you know, is this political party going to let the Muslims do this? And they keep saying the Muslims, and it's so fucking rude for them to just say the Muslims like that. You know what I'm saying? And the reason is because if you ask the average Caucasian American, if you ask him, you say, hey, what's a Muslim, man? What is a Muslim? I want you to tell me what's a Muslim. They're going to explain to you something that falls under the parameters of these crazy things we've been taught, like Sunni or Shiite. And what I can say is those are the people that you've heard of that throw the word Muslim around, that maybe you could identify them as Muslims. But most of the Muslims that you never hear of, you know what I mean? You know, you just assume that they're Taliban, right? Well, I mean, maybe you shouldn't think like that. You know what I mean? Did you ever think, like, when the Taliban are attacking people in Pakistan, who are they attacking? There's not any Christians there, really, for them to be attacking. So what the fuck does the Taliban blow up when they go there? And in Yemen, the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda is doing some crazy shit in Yemen right now. And you hear all this crazy extremities coming off of the news, and you're like, well, if there's no Christians in Yemen, who the fuck are the Muslims attacking? Who's there to kill? Who's there to chop their head off? And it stands to reason, even if you've never been to the Middle East, that all of these Muslims have been over there minding their own business, and we never hear about them, except for when some extreme motherfucker pops off, the same way you never hear of a Christian, unless it's about fucking David Koresh, or the Bundys, or something stupid. So, you know, Jesus, he teaches you when you pray to go into your secret place and pray away from everyone else. And that if you brag to other people about being a Christian, that your bragging is the reward that you get. and that when you get to heaven, there's not going to be much for you. Whereas if you keep it to yourself, that the treasures that you learn from God is something that will be available to you in the next life. And so it stands to reason, because of the fact that you never hear anything about the majority of the Muslims on the planet, all you hear is these stories about these extreme motherfuckers. It stands to the reason that all these other Muslims are practicing something along the same lines of what Jesus is teaching. You know what I mean? Whatever they're doing in their prayer life, they're doing it amongst themselves. You know, and they're not out here speaking Arabic everywhere they go. It might look like Arabic to you when you see it written down just because you don't know any better, but it might be Urdu, it might be Farsi. You know what? There's a bunch of Muslims that speak Serbo-Croatian. They prefer if you called it Bosnian, but the fact of the matter is just like how a lot of Catholics only speak Latin when they're in Mass, there's a lot of Muslims out there that only speak Arabic when they're at the mosque. And so if you was to run into them at the grocery store, you wouldn't even be able to determine probably if they were Indian or Paki. I mean, you wouldn't be able to make a determination to be able to say for sure unless they happen to be wearing their third eye or something like that. That you could call them on being, you know what I mean? You just most of the religious folks that are out there are the ones you never fucking hear of. Is what I'm trying to say. You know, and the ones that the Illuminati wants to show you on TV are the ones that are causing problems. So that eventually that they can classify you as an extremity and fucking, you know what I mean? Whenever anyone comes, like a person like me comes out and say, hey man, we got to change things right now, they can try to identify, wait, is he some kind of Muslim? Is he some kind of extreme Christian? They're not sure. They don't know what to pin on me. And when they find something to pin on me, they will. And that's the argument they will use to encourage you not to listen to me anymore. The same way they use the Taliban argument to say that Muslims are bad. The same way that they use the child molester argument to say that all Christians are bad, when in fact the ones that you've never heard of are probably just fine, and the only ones that you do hear about are the ones that make the news. It's common fucking sense. But if I let you be true free thinking, then how are we to enslave you? Just saying.